Thank you for joining us at the Roundtable.
Brought to you by Community Education Arts, a nonprofit organization based in Noblesville, Indiana.
I'm Alys Caviness Gober, president of CEArts.
And I'm Sarah E. Morin, secretary of CEArts. Let's sit down at the Roundtable.
Welcome back as we continue our interview with writer and artist Alys Caviness Gober.
So I would love to chat a little bit about this fascinating time we live in as writers, where we can opt to send our work into a traditional publishing company.
Yeah.
But we can also choose to self-publish. We're very lucky in that. Which route do you prefer and why?
Well, I mean, I prefer self-publishing for the main reason that I have no idea how to get a traditional publisher. I wouldn't know how to do that to save my life for a book anyway. I mean, I've submitted poetry to publications, to contests and things like that. And I actually have a poem published in an anthology that was created in Ireland. And there's a copy of that book in Trinity College Library. I mean, I have a poem in a book in Trinity College Library. So, I mean, I know there are traditional ways to do it. I don't know how to do I've just never been savvy about, how do I reach a publisher for a poetry book? Plus, I think we were raised, I'm like I said, I'm going to be 58 next month, and I think my generation at least was raised to think that poetry is a hard sell. It's hard to get published. It's hard to get a book of poetry published. And I started my self-publishing again, just so that my family would have a copy of my poems. And, when you do that, those books can be available to the world. So why not have them available to the world? That's kind of how I got into self-publishing. And so it's an easy way, and it's relatively inexpensive to self-publish depending on who you go with. And so I try to have, 5 to 10 copies of the current publication, whatever my current publication is, on hand to either give to friends or sell if I'm somewhere where a book sale could possibly happen, But it's also in COVID-19, it makes perfect sense. And even without COVID-19, if you think about it, because if you've self-published and you have a link, and someone can just go on the link, buy the book, and it gets delivered right to them. I mean, easy peasy. I mean, it's as painless as possible. And then I get a few bucks or a few pennies every time someone buys a book. Yay! So that's my preference. Also, because I will be honest and say these are, like my title poem suggests, these are my innermost thoughts and experiences, and being the only one in charge of them to put them together in the format I want, with the images I want, laid out the way I want. I hesitate to use the word control, because it's not about control. It's about it's like, growing a baby and then giving birth to it. It's you're the only one doing that. Nobody else is doing that. And so this is kind of like self-publishing is my way of producing, if you will, this content that's me. Does that make sense? I'm not sure.
It does. Yeah.
Now, the difference is when you have a baby, it goes out in the world and becomes its own person, obviously, which is great. And in some way, that's the same thing. I've produced this volume of poetry of 404 days of COVID-19, whatever, or, volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, volume 4. I'm working on volume 5. These are me. But once they're out there, once they're published, they become whatever they become for whoever reads them, buys them, sees them, right? So it is a very similar thing in a way. But it's up until production, it's all me. And I feel like that works for me really well, because I'm sometimes very shy about my poetry. I'm very shy to share it. sometimes because it is so personal. I mean, the first couple volumes of this series had a lot to do with, coming out of a bad marriage and violent situations, and processing all that. That was very hard to, first of all, even write those poems, let alone let them go out there, so and health problems are personal, even though I try not to be shy about talking about those, because I think, especially for hidden disabilities like I have, it's very important to talk about them and raise awareness for them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they're very personal. It's my life, it's my diseases, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's there's an ownership there that's hard to kind of unclench from. I don't know if that makes sense.
Sure. No, it does. I mean, I've long talked about how the beauty of self-publication, and I've done both for different
Mm-hmm,
projects,
mm-hmm.
is the creative control. And though you hesitate from the word creative control, and I love the way that you described that, that is a very valuable thing,
Yeah.
to be able to say, this is the clarity of my vision that I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting across.
Right. And I think for someone like me who does visual arts and writing, even if I know a lot of poets, for example, who don't do any kind of visual artwork really, and so they may self-publish or whatever, but with the help of someone else putting that book together, and that's they're giving that person control over the cover. I mean, of course they have approval and they say, yeah, I like that cover, I don't like that cover, whatever, but it's not their own artwork, for example,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. And for me, once I decided with, I think, book 2 or whatever, to actually go with color, you, the Lulu, the printing company I work with that I upload my files to, I was able to figure out how to do color inside the book as well as outside the book, cover and interior. And once I started doing that, which would bring my paintings and my photography more with realism for how I painted them, how I created them, having that like you said, that creative control over how it looks is part of how it feels for me. And so that was very important for me as a visual artist slash writer, to be able to make these books look and feel like I wanted them to. So I'll probably still, keep doing self-publishing, because again, I don't know how to find a publisher for a book of poetry that's traditional, traditional publisher. Maybe they'll find me. I don't know. Hello, I'm here. Send me a big advance for volume 5.
That's what we all dream of.
And honestly, I know that people do publish poetry that way, and there are very famous poets that are, currently in the world and all that. But I mean, let's face it, for most of us, that's not going to happen. It is a dream. And so I figure, might as well make my own dream come true. I'm not going to sit around and wait for it to happen. I'm just going to publish my stuff, and it's out there, and I've got a few copies to sell and give away, and that's good. It's good. So
Right.
I always try to highly recommend to other artists and writers to try it, because until you try it, you don't know. It may not be right for you, but it may.
And at the time that we both kind of started into this writing process, I mean, that's where, there used to be kind of a stigma against self-publication, and
I don't think that exists
much less of a
anymore.
stigma. Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody recognizes that if a traditional publisher selects you to publish your book, whether it's, a fiction, a biography, a memoir, poetry, whatever, I mean, that's huge. That's amazing. Congratulations. It's incredible. But I don't think that anybody looks down on self-published work the way, you're right, the way that people used to, even 20 years ago. It's just the world is so digital and it's so global that everything's changed.
Yeah, we are in a time of creators.
And musicians do that too. It's not just writers and artists. I mean, artists used to have to try to find a gallery to show their work. Well, now they just put it online, and musicians are producing their own CDs or uploads or downloads or whatever you call them. I mean, MP3s, MP4s. The home recording is a thing. So
Right.
yeah, the world has changed, and I think we all have to be fearless in trying these new opportunities of getting our work out there. And like I said, some will work for you and some won't. But until you try, you don't know.
That's right.
Coming up, the next part of our interview with artist and writer Alys Caviness Gober. This has been At the Roundtable with Alys
And Sarah E.
of Community Education Arts.
Our nonprofit organization is based in Noblesville, Indiana. You can find us online at CEArts.org. We'd like to thank James Weston for writing our intro music and for his technical savvy.
Join us next time
At the Roundtable.